the media was in their depiction of what he said, and that they are taking this quote out of context and trying to say that there's going to be a civil war if he doesn't get elected, which is not what he was talking about at all.
Joe Biden continues to lie about Donald Trump, and Joe Rogan is sick and tired of it. Joe Rogan, the incredibly influential podcaster, he is sick and tired and fed up of the lies. He's fed up of the lies from the media. He's fed up of the lies from Democrats and from Joe Biden. And he brought it out on his podcast. I'm going to show that to you in just a moment. But first, I want you to see the latest egregious, outrageous, disgusting, despicable lie from Joe Biden, your president of the United States. This is an ad that they put out on his Twitter feed. Take a look.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country.
Jews will not replace us.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Are you willing to condemn white supremacists and militia groups?
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January 6th hostages.
There'll be a lot of pardons and commutations of January 6th defendants.
Yes, absolutely.
You tell your supporters now, no matter what, no violence.
And it's going to be a bloodbath.
That right there, by the way, is the entirety of the message you'll hear from the Biden re-election campaign between now and November. That's all they've got. And it's a lie, by the way. You know, usually when a president runs for re-election, it's like, let's have 4 more years of this great success. Look at all these great things that I've done, and let's keep it going. Nope, he's got none of that. You know he's got none of that. Everybody knows he's got none of that. That's why he's underwater in the polls. No, the only thing he's got is to lie about Donald Trump and to terrify you about him. It's not elect Joe Biden. It's, what does it say? Stop Trump. That's what it is. That's their political message. And for his part, Joe Rogan is done with it. He took the false lie of the bloodbath and he spun with it.
I mean, I'm sure you're aware of this recent Donald Trump speech where he talked about a bloodbath.
Oh God, yeah.
And what the actual phrase was. See if you can find that, Jamie, because it's actually important to highlight how not just inaccurate, but it's just deceptive the media was in their depiction of what he said, and that they are taking this quote out of context and trying to say that there's going to be a civil war if he doesn't get elected, which is not what he was talking about at all. See, pull it up, because it's so disturbing that they would, first of all, that they would think that they could get away with it in this day and age with all the scrutiny and all the with social media and all the independent journalists that exist now, which is one of the more interesting things about the demise of corporate media, the demise in trust. Trust in corporate media is at an all-time low, and so this has led to a rise in true independent journalists, the real ones out there, the Matt Taibbi's, the Glenn Greenwalds, the people that are actually just trying to say what is really going on and what are the influences behind these things and why are these things happening.
Yeah, and it's great
sure
that Rogan gets this, that, you know, the fact that they would take that line, bloodbath, and make it sound like he was calling for a civil war. And by the way, it's important for us, every single time they deliver this lie in such a blatant, disgusting, and outrageous way as Joe Biden did here, it's important for us to remind you of the truth. Especially if this is the first time you're seeing one of these videos. Here, once again, here's the very beginning of Joe Biden's new ad.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country.
Jews.
Okay, so now what did Donald Trump actually say when he used the term bloodbath?
China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll.
All right. So it's not just a lie. It's a despicable lie. It's a gross lie. It's a disgusting lie. It's a volatile lie. It's a lie that continues to heighten our already pre-existing divisions and makes one side of the equation think that those who are voting for Donald Trump are calling for a civil war and a bloodbath in the streets. It doesn't get worse than that. And he just took that and put it into an ad. Right. And then, all right, now let's go to the next part of the ad. Sorry, we got to do this because this is who else is doing it? Who else is doing that? George Stephanopoulos isn't doing this. Are you kidding? He's repeating the lies. Okay, so now they go show footage of Charlottesville.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
All right, so they show footage of white nationalists, white supremacists causing havoc in the streets, saying that Jews will not replace us. They're showing Klansmen, they're showing swastikas, and then they show Trump say, well, there were very fine people on both sides. And I want you to take a look at this picture right here. This is from a press conference that he gave at the lobby, I believe, of Trump Tower. And you see the marble. See that marble wall behind him there? Right? That's from the press conference. Look, here's some more footage that I found. This is the same marble wall. See that? Same marble wall. Because this is from the exact same press conference. In fact, this is just moments after he said the very fine people thing. Now, listen to this. Have you seen this? Watch this.
So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
So the very fine people on both sides obviously excluded the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, who he literally just said should be condemned. But they lie. They lie for the purpose of continuing to divide us further. We are divided. But their lies divide us even further. And their lies, listen, if we're a divided nation, there's nothing we're never going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. We're going to be divided. We're going to disagree about things, right? But what they're doing on the opposite side of the political aisle right now, what they're doing with our pre-existing divisions, is that they are turning that built-in, understandable division into hatred, into a kind of othering that is tantamount to saying, if you disagree with me politically, you're not just wrong. And in fact, you're not just bad. You're an evil, violent criminal who should be locked up. Not just this guy, but anyone who supports him or votes for him. That's what they're doing with these lies. And you know the truth. We know the truth. So what do? We just keep our head down and let them say this to us and wait until November? Is that our only choice? Or do we actually not just talk back, not just shout back, scream back at them and scream the truth? I want to tell you something. And I've never told this story before publicly, but I want to tell you. I have several young men in my life who I am honored to mentor in a very small way. And one of them found himself living in my house for a while, a 22-year-old young black man from Dallas. And he grew up, as Andrew Breitbart would say, his factory setting was Democrat. He came out of the box as a Democrat. That was the factory setting. That was Andrew Breitbart's factory setting, too. It wasn't until he had a political coming of age. Actually, it was during the Clarence Thomas hearings where he recognized that Joe Biden, the chairman of those hearings, and Democrats were bad people. And they treated Clarence Thomas in a bad way. And that started to change the settings, the factory settings. So this young black man is staying in our house during the pandemic for a couple of weeks. And we never talk politics. There's more important things in life to talk about than politics, right? And he's a great kid. And I, I love and admiration for him. He's like a son to me at this point, years later. But he said, he finally said, he says, Larry, I got to ask you. You're a great guy. You're clearly not racist. I see the love and compassion you have for my buddies and my friends when they come over and great, da. So how is it you support Donald Trump? He finally went there. He finally asked me that question. I've been waiting for it. You're not racist, so why do you support the racist president? And I said, can you tell me one example of what you think Donald Trump has done or said that's racist? And without hesitation, it was Charlottesville. It was calling Klansmen and neo-Nazis very fine people. He said, yeah, I've seen the video where he called these Klansmen and those neo-Nazis, the people in Charlottesville, he called them very fine people. And I said, okay, let's talk about it. And I pulled up the video. But the video version that I pulled up was the edited, chopped up version that Joe Biden used for his announcement that he was running for president. Remember when he said, I had to run for president to renew the soul of our nation when I saw Donald Trump call these neo-Nazis very fine people. Do you remember that? Joe Biden's entire campaign for president was built on a lie. So I showed this young man this video that Joe Biden had put out. And this young man said, yeah, that's it. That's the video I'm talking about. There he is calling neo-Nazis and Klansmen very fine people. And then I showed him this video, the video that I just showed you.
History, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that.
I showed him that. And I got to tell you something. His face, I just want to reiterate, this is a young black man from Dallas who everyone in his life, everyone who surrounded him have all been Democrats. This is what they do. This is, he said, this is what my family does. This is what my neighborhood does. We wouldn't even imagine voting for anyone else. And when he saw that, when I showed him the truth about what Donald Trump said that day, he wasn't surprised. He wasn't shocked. He was furious. He was furious at Joe Biden. He was furious at Democrats. He was furious at the media. He was furious at his friends and his teachers and the people in his neighborhood. He was furious that he had been lied to, that he had been taken advantage of, that he had been taken for granted. How do we push back against the lies? It's insurmountable, right? We'll never be able to get the truth out. They own all of the streams of media. They did. How do we tell the truth? How do we push back? How do we fight? How do we scream at the rooftops what's really happening here? One person at a time. That's all we can do. That's all we can do. And have faith and have hope that when they see the truth, they'll do exactly what this young man did. I don't know who he voted for. This was, again, summer of 2020. And I don't know who he voted for in November. But he made a point to tell me that he did not vote for Joe Biden. And we left it at that.